Hi, we're halfway through 2024 and it's hard to believe we're here. In this video, I am going to highlight for you what has actually happened and we're going to take a really good look at where we've come from so far this year. And I'm going to make some bold predictions in this video on where I think we're going over the next 6 months and into 2025. And I think you're going to find it really interesting. And there's a few things that we're going to have to consider because people keep asking me, what is this market going to do? Because we hear all kinds of things. Are interest rates going to play a role? Yes, we're going to talk about that. What about migration into Alberta? Is that going to play a role? Yes, we're going to talk about that. What about people buying their first house? Are some of these people able to afford it? And can they get into the market? Are we going to continue to see people buying their first home in Calgary especially? Yes, we're going to talk about that too. All of these are big factors that drive our real estate market. And I will tell you, all things are continuing to look good for Calgary, but it's really good and helpful if you understand by looking at the numbers and these driving forces behind it to maybe help you make some good decisions as to whether you want to buy a property right now, sell a property and buy another one. So I think you'll find this video really helpful. So stay tuned. I think you'll want to watch it right to the end. All right, let's get into some of these stats here. So here we are in June 2024, and you'll see right here, we sold 2,738 properties compared to a year ago in June, which was 3,140. So we're down 12.8%. And some of you are going, what's happening? Well, I can tell you right now, I have my hand on the pulse, and that's a significant drop in the amount of property selling. It was noticeable, and I can tell you some of the properties that were selling really fast suddenly are not selling as quick. Some of them that were getting multiple offers did not get multiple offers. For example, I just sold a property, came on the market at $679,000. We ended up selling it for $655,000. So that is starting to happen now. We're not seeing quite as many multiple offers as we were. And that means that demand is going down just a little bit, not anything to worry too much about, but it's happening. So far this year though, right here, we're at 15,147 sales. Last year, at the end of June, we're at 14,302. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting again, because if we look at our benchmark price for the month, now that's just for the month of June, that's not the whole year, we hit 608,000. Now that includes condominium. Look where we were a year ago. 5,6,300. So we had an 8.51% if you take into account the entire market. So far this year, we're at 592,367, and that's up 9.83%. And the reason we're seeing these numbers is right over here, because we've got 1.38 months supply, and we've been battling that all along. So we're still sitting on inventory levels that are quite low. Right now, we're at 3,787. That's up from a year ago, 3,469. So we do have a little more inventory. We have lower sales. That means properties not moving quite as strong. And you might ask yourself, well, why is that happening? How come all of a sudden now? Well, there's a lot of reasons why that could be happening. I will tell you from my experience from talking to a lot of people, interest rates. We've got people right now that really feel strongly that interest rates are going to come down, and they're waiting. And with the enough people do that, that slows down the sales. Inventory levels go up a little bit more because they're not selling. So buyers see this as well, and they recognize and go, well, maybe I should wait. And if enough people do that, it creates an entire market. And we might see some slowing over the summer if enough people continue to wait for interest rates to come down. And you know what? Who can blame them? If you look at the mortgage payments of where they are, if we could see a 25 basis point drop or even a 50 basis points drop, and these numbers stay where they are, where higher inventory levels and lower sales, we won't see too much price increases. Lower interest rates means a lot lower monthly payment. Some of these people can now get into the market, and some of them have more manageable payments. So that in itself is a trend that I think we're stepping into. But I'm going to talk about interest rates a little bit more later in this video and how long term that's going to impact the market. But in the short term, definitely what I'm seeing is enough people are sitting on the sidelines, and I do think that's going to continue over the summer. Doesn't mean if you're a seller you can't sell in this market. Of course you can, and you'll probably still do okay. Just may not see 5, 6, 7 offers that you would have maybe 3 months ago. If you're buying a property, yeah, there's a decision to make here. Should I step in now, take advantage of this market? It's a little bit slowing. I might see a good opportunity. That's true. You just might. Maybe you might want to consider taking a variable rate and instead of locking in. And of course, if the interest rates come down, you could lock in at a lower rate. There's some decisions you have to make around that. Everything has some pros and cons, but I can tell you there is opportunity. Not everybody should wait, but I have to understand we're all a little bit different. Some of you that may be watching this video, it might make more sense to wait a little longer. And I have oftentimes when I've met with people, I've given them that advice. When I've looked at their situation, we try to really analyze whether it really makes sense for you. And I take that rather serious. So if you're sitting right now looking at this video trying to decide, don't hesitate to send me a message. I'm happy to give you a little bit of guidance on that as to whether this could be the right timing to take advantage of the market where you're in, or whether you should sit on the sidelines, because like I said, everybody's a little bit different. Now, let's look at the next video. Very few people ever look at these stats, and this is called the Housing Price Index. Quite frankly, a lot of people don't understand it. Even a lot of real estate agents don't understand it. This is our benchmark price for the month of June. We've already looked at that. The index started at 100, and that started in 2005. So you can see the median price of properties in Calgary have gone up 184% since 2005. What I like about looking at this chart, though, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is we can look at this in every single neighborhood in Calgary and surrounding areas, and you can see the strength of that neighborhood and the trend of that neighborhood. You can also see what the trend is right now for Calgary, and you can see the rate of which we're going up. Last month, we went up 0.42%. Last 3 months, the market went up 2.67, 7.56 for the last 6 months. And you can see over the last 3 years, we've gone up 28%. We've gone up 40% in the last 5 years. So this is really good data to look at individual neighborhoods and the trend of where the city is going as well. Or even if you want to look at certain quadrants of the city, you can also do that too. So I'm just throwing this in here in the video because this kind of data can be very, very helpful whether you're buying or whether you're selling. So this chart here is showing us for a detached house, we've got 600 to 700,000, and we've had 1,716 properties sell between $600,000 and $700,000. This is our sweet spot for detached houses. But you can see, and I show these charts every single month, you can see now 700 to 800,000 is now 22% of the market, and we've had 1,500 properties sell in that price range. So it's going to be soon, if we continue the way we're going, and even though things have slowed, obviously we're going to be hitting $700,000 to $800,000 is going to be the sweet spot. Now, let's go back to talking about interest rates. If interest rates do drop by 25 points, maybe even drop 50 points by the end of this year, will that bring more buyers into the market, and will that put pressure on the already low inventory that we have? Well, I can't make those kind of bold predictions 100%. Obviously, I don't have the crystal ball and nobody does. But logically, you have to think if the price of real estate got lower by just interest rates alone, it became more affordable, and there was more people that could get into the market and their mortgage payments are more affordable, it makes logical sense that we would see pressure coming on pricing if we don't see more inventory. We need more inventory to settle this down. This opens up another question. Why can't we get more inventory? Well, number one, we still have people sitting on low mortgage rates that just quite frankly don't want to move because they're still sitting at 2.5%, 3%, and they're waiting until that 5-year term expires before they even consider. Secondly, we have a construction issue in Alberta right now. We don't have enough tradespeople to meet the demand. I mean, we need to build more. Builders are busy. I can tell you, I was talking to a builder the other day, very hard to get framers, for example. They're limited by how many people they can have build these houses. So we have a little bit of a slowdown in being able to make that happen. So supply is still not going to be an easy thing for us to resolve over the next 1-year period. So interest rates definitely can put pressure on some of the supply. So here we are in semi-detached. Next best choice to making a decision to buy a detached home. And we've had 330 properties sell just between 500 and 600,000 this year. 25% of all the semi-detached properties are in this market. We still have quite a few here, 130 that have sold, in that 800 to 900,000 range. So it's a pretty strong market. It continues to be a really strong market into the inner city. And we've got, I'll say, reasonably good supply when it comes to the inner city because there's still enough houses being torn down that they're able to have product to be able to sell. It's not as robust as it was because there's still some limitations on how many tradespeople they can get to work on these homes as well. But again, there seems to be a little bit more supply in that area, so we're not seeing prices in the inner city rising at the same rapid rate that they are in the lower price range in other parts of the city. Now, here we are looking at townhouses, and you can see, we're talking earlier in this video about the first-time buyers. Generally speaking, most first-time buyers buying their first home, they don't want to be house poor, and nobody should be house poor. I never encourage anyone to be house poor buying their first property. So townhouses is a great place to start. We don't have enough of them right now either. This is a really big problem. You can see it's really clear. 40% of the market. I mean, we've had 1,044 of these sell. And this is just on MLS. This doesn't even include, what the builders have sold. I don't even know what those numbers are, but there are probably, quite a few of them. So we have a real demand in this 400 to 500 affordable price range and can't meet that demand. And that's part of why we've got some first-time buyers sitting on the sidelines right now. Interest rates, definitely a problem, but also trying to find the product. If I'm a first-time buyer and I only can qualify to a maximum of $550,000, well, how the heck am I supposed to make a purchase if I can't seem to find the product? So that's also a concern, and I don't think that's going to change very much. Now, here we are looking at apartment condominiums. And it's easy to see, $300,000 to $400,000. Here you're getting into even a lot of people getting into the investment market. This is a potential strategy if you're watching this video, because I was talking to somebody the other day. They have a couple of children. They are in a situation where their maximum purchase price is $400,000. It doesn't make sense for them to leave their rental. They're renting a townhouse. They have a small backyard for the children. They don't want to leave having a backyard and go into an apartment, but they really want to get into the real estate market. You could be one of the many people right here in this price range that are buying an investment property and then looking for a tenant. You could get into the market and own something, still continue with your rental, but actually own something and have the tenants, cover the cost of, the mortgage payment, the taxes, the condo fees, if you can make the numbers work. And that's something I've been able to help some people do. So that's another option to consider if you're not able to really get the product that you want to get right now, but you do want to get into the real estate market. Because for Alberta, even though, remember, we're very different here than other parts of Canada, we are experiencing this low supply, high demand, and I still go back to what I said earlier. If interest rates come down, we're going to put more pressure, especially in this price range here. So to me, it's not a bad way to get into the market if you were to consider going that route, if that's your current situation. Now, I've taken this right from Stats Canada, and just to put it in a perspective when it comes to immigration, right now, in total in Canada for non-permanent residents, We have 2,793,000 people in Canada that are non-permanent residents. We have people living here right now with work permits, and they don't have their permanent resident status. They don't have their citizenship. We don't know how many of these people are going to stay, but I can tell you there is a lot of them. And here's something else to really consider. If a large percentage of this almost 3 million people decide to stay long term, most likely they're going to be looking at buying real estate. Many of these people right now are new to Canada, obviously. Many of them came from Ukraine. They've come from some countries that have some unrest, and they're experiencing life in Canada, trying to make a decision, should we stay here? I think there's a big chunk of these people that will probably enjoy living in our country. It's a great country. Why not? These people are going to want to own real estate. And I think we're going to see, as we have lower interest rates coming into next year, add that to the amount of people who have mortgages sitting at 3% that suddenly are going to have a higher interest rate at some point. We'll also recognize, all right, maybe it's time to make a move. Maybe we've stayed in our house a little longer than we normally would have. Our family has grown, but we've stayed here for the low interest rate. But now that we have to pay a higher rate, we may as well make the move. So combination of more people going onto the market and more percentage of these people coming into the market, and add the fact that Alberta has jobs. We have a really strong economic driving force in our province right now, especially when you're seeing oil as high as it is. And even though no one wants to talk about oil because it's kind of a dirty word in the marketplace, I'm just looking at the next 5 years. I see really strong economy for Alberta. I see demand for housing in Alberta. I think it could have a little bit of a slowdown, as I mentioned earlier, while we wait for these rates to come down. But there's just no indication at all that I can see, unless something, happens, and maybe other parts of the world that could really affect oil prices. I don't see that we're going to see really much in terms of a lower economic environment in Alberta anytime soon, which just means that this would be a good time to be able to get into the real estate market overall. So I hope this has been very helpful to you to get a good sense of where we're at, where we're going. And as always, just reach out to me if you have questions. I never really look at people's timelines as to when they reach out to me. I've never been the agent that's just always trying to get somebody into real estate. If it doesn't. So anyway, you can email me, phone me, text me, whatever works for you, and I'll look forward to seeing you next month.